Hey everyone, this is Tinkering with B-Hav, and I'm B-Hav. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my neighbors. Lived in this house for around 20 years, a little over 20 years, and not long after we moved in, my neighbors moved in next door. John and Alicia are their names, and we lucked out. We hit the neighbor lottery. They are the greatest people we could have ever had living next door to us. We have two boys. They have two boys. Their boys are a couple years younger than mine, but our kids played together and grew up together, and they're still friends to this day. Um, the reason I'm talking about my neighbors is, unfortunately, John is in the process of moving his mother into a nursing home, so they're going through her house, and he happened to cross these two lanterns and this stove. And he knows that I collect lanterns. He actually kind of makes fun of me sometimes for it because I'm so into it, but that's okay. He came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in them, and I told him sure. I asked him how much, and he told me not to worry about it and I could just have them. That was awful nice of him. He said his dad and him and his brother used to use them when they went camping when he was a kid, and they've been sitting for over 20 years in his mom's basement. So his father passed away over 20 years ago. So he gave these to me. So I'm going to work on them and get them running. Everything had fuel in it. Both lanterns had fuel in them. They still do. I haven't messed with them. I tried to light them and I couldn't get them to light. So maybe the generators are a little gummed up or something. And I'll go through them and see if I can get them to light without too much effort. The stove also had fuel in it, and it would pump up and hold pressure, but I just couldn't get it to light. So I think something was clogging up in the tank. So the last couple of days, I took the tank apart. I put a new cap seal in it. I oiled the pump leather really good so it would pump up. And I took the valve out and cleaned it out. I looked inside the tank, and there was no rust inside the tank. And I have the fuel right here that I took out of it, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. I'm going to put it back in it, and we're going to see if we can get it to light here tonight. So I'm going to show you a little bit about these lanterns up close, and then we'll fuel up this stove, and we'll see if we can get it to go. Okay, so here's these lanterns in this stove. This stove is a Coleman 425D, and if I looked at the date under the tabs, it was February of 1966, is what it says underneath there. And this lantern right here is a Coleman 420 or 220, excuse me, 220F. You can read it on the side there, and the date on it I think is 1975, if I remember right, or excuse me, 67. That's a 6 of 67. I think the other one's a 75 or 71 or something. But anyway, this one is it's in really good shape. It's missing a little paint up around the rim here, but that's okay. I don't worry too much about the aesthetics of it for the most part. I just want it to function really well. This one here should be a runner. So that's that one, and this one here is a 220H. You can read it underneath there. 228H, excuse me. So a 220 and the 228 are actually the same lantern, except for the 228s have this big vent on top, and a 220, if you look at this one up here, has that smaller vent. But other than that, the lantern is the same. So this one, I think, is the 1970, 78. No, 73, excuse me. There you can see it right there. 7 of 73, 9 of 73. Boy, I just can't remember any number. Anyway, so this is a 220H, and I don't have an H. I have a 220K or 228K, and I don't have an H. They're about the same. I don't know what the differences are really, but anyway, this one's in real good shape. The paint around the top there isn't flaking off or anything. It's got a green valve wheel on there. I don't think I have one with a green valve wheel. I've got black like this, and I've got red. I don't think I have one that's green. So anyway, that's these two lanterns. They're in, like I said, they're in pretty good shape. I'm going to set these off to the side here. We're going to look at this stove a little bit. There's some rust on the inside of the stove. You can tell it was well used. You know, this here has been hot from a pan sitting on there, getting nice and hot. Probably a cast iron skillet, if I had to say, but you can see the cobwebs and stuff inside of it. There's a old burnt match down in there. So this was probably used and just packed away and put away. Going to be used on the next camp out, and they just never got to it. Like I said, I went through and I oiled up the pump leather in here. I took this whole valve assembly out and apart, and I cleaned out the generator real good. And uh, I oiled up the pump leather, and I put a new cap seal in here. So you can look in there, you can see that's a brand new pump seal in there. What you're seeing is I haven't put any fuel in it. That's alcohol. I had put alcohol in there to get rid of the water because I rinsed the tank out real good because it had some little flakes. It might have been little flakes of rust, but there was some little flakes of something on the inside, and I think that's one of the things that might have been clogging up the pickup tube in there. So I got that all cleaned out. You clean it out with water, and then to keep it from rusting, you put denatured alcohol in it. This stuff right here. Put denatured alcohol in there and shake that all around in there real good, and that gets rid of all the moisture and water out of it. So another thing about this 225D is it's got these red feet on it. Those fold over the top and lock it closed when you close it because there's no latch. So, all right, I'm gonna get a funnel and we'll put some fuel in it. Now this is a Coleman funnel. This is older, but they still make them, I think. I don't know if they're metal anymore, but they make plastic ones. But inside of there is felt, and that felt will catch any impurities in the fuel, like any debris or anything, and keep it out of your tank. Because the small hole in the end of the pickup tube in here is really small, and any little flake of anything can clog that right up, and then your stove won't work very good, or your lantern for that matter. So you always want to pour your fuel in through a funnel that has a filter, and that's, like I said, that's just felt. It's fuel resistant felt. And I'm going to show you this fuel, and you'll be able to see down in there, that's all stuff that I got out of the tank. So you can look in there. Now that fuel is still good, it just had all that stuff down in there, and I'm going to filter that out when I pour it in there, so none of that will get down into the tank again. So a little bit about Coleman fuel. It's You can run unleaded gasoline in these, and or Coleman fuel, right? Coleman fuel is basically the same as gasoline, except it doesn't have any additives in it, like ethanol or anything like that. Any of the additives they put in gasoline for the road is not in the Coleman fuel. And the Coleman fuel will burn clean. And so, well, gasoline burns clean too, but the Coleman fuel burns a lot cleaner than regular gas. And you can run regular gas in any Coleman product. It works just fine. They say it gums up the generators faster than burning Coleman fuel, and it's a lot less expensive than Coleman fuel too. But in a pinch, you can use regular gasoline. So I'm going to pour this fuel in here. Another thing about Coleman fuel is it does not go bad. Like regular gasoline will go bad and turn to varnish, whereas Coleman fuel will not. Like this Coleman fuel is 20 years old. It's been in this tank for 20 years, but I guarantee it'll still burn. So we're just pouring that down in there. Trying to watch through my camera and also watch over the top so I don't pour it too fast and have it come over the top. There we go. All right, you can see all that gook down in there. Oof. So, okay, so we'll let that drip for a minute just to get any little bit down in there. It won't take much fuel in here to get it to go. So I buy any Coleman fuel. You can see most of those cans down in there are old. If I'm at an estate sale or an auction or antique mall or store, if there's a half a gallon of Coleman fuel, I buy it because it's good stuff and it doesn't go bad. So, okay, so we're going to set that funnel down in there. All right, now we're going to put the cap on. Okay, so now let's pressurize it up. Excuse me real fast here. There we go. I probably should have this mounted to something, the camera, so it doesn't shake like this. Need to get me one of those neck mounts, huh? Okay, so if you look at the instructions there, the little lever says up to light, which it is facing up, and then down to burn, and that opens up the fuel air pickup tube in there. So I get my lighter ready here. So I'm going to turn my fuel on. Hear it coming. There we go. Oh, look at that. So that's got to heat the generator so it vaporizes the fuel really good. So I'm opening the valve up all the way. Okay, we'll let it just go through there. There might be some moisture left in the valve that's coming through there, the alcohol. Oh, there we go. We're getting a little more steady blue flame. And I need to get a little bit more pressure here. Oh yeah, that's going good. So now we're going to move this down because I think my generator is probably hot enough. Okay, that burner's going. Maybe that'll get a little more blue. So over here, the way this other burner works is you slide this out here and you just open that up and that opens the other valve. So I'm going to open that a little. And we're going to, oh, look at that. Fired right up. So that one's going too. So look at there. I'll turn this light out so maybe you can see it a little better. There we go. So after 20 years, 20 plus years, this stove's got life, and I put very minimal effort into it. Like I said, I just did a little work to the valve, put a new cap seal and oiled the leather, filtered the fuel out, and it's good to go. So that's it. Look at there. Burns real good. All right, so I'm going to shut this off. Now when I turn this off all the way, it'll take it a few seconds, so you can turn it down. So that's how you adjust your flame to cook whatever you're going to cook, right? Just like any other gas stove. You can see there's little bits of blue flame in there. It'll take a minute for that to go off. Well, that's it. All right. So that stove works after 20 years of sitting. Well, that's a 55-year-old stove with 20-year-old fuel, and it fired right up. So I just think that's really neat. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about why I collect these lanterns and stoves. So, you know, I like to mess with them and I like to work on them and tinker with them and get old things working again. That's one of the things that relaxes me. It's something I can do in the evenings instead of sitting and watching TV. Um, Another thing I think about this hobby is I like to think of all these lanterns, and I'm pushing 80 lanterns and stoves, probably way too many. But every one of them, how many camping trips has it been on? How many campfires has it been around, or sat outside of a tent, or anything? I mean, some of the ones from the 20s and the 30s, I mean, they went through the Great Depression. Was that somebody's light that they used to eat their dinner by after a man was out looking for work all day, came home and they don't have any electricity, but they had a lantern they could put gas in and eat dinner from the light of that lantern? I like to think that that kind of stuff happens with all these. I mean, how many hunting trips, how many fishing trips? People used to hang them off the side of boats at night to attract fish. I mean, countless stories, and I've got, like I said, 80. How many times has a breakfast been cooked on this stove right here? Well, I'm going to talk to my neighbor this summer when we're sitting out in my pool toasting his dad by the light of one of these lanterns. I'm going to talk to him about how many times they cooked breakfast on this stove and how many camping trips they took those lanterns on. So that's something I like. I like to think about that kind of stuff, and I just think it's really neat, and it gives me a lot of enjoyment, a lot of enjoyment. So if you like this video, please feel free to share it. Tell your friends about it. Follow me, like it, do whatever you want with it. I really appreciate all of it. I appreciate all of you watching. Um, this is Tinkering with B-Hav, and I'm B-Hav. Thanks for watching.